Hi everyone, Kent Levi here. Hope you're doing considerably well. I just want to create today's webinar for everyone and try to help equip you in this process of creating a new website for your company. As I said, I'm Kent Levi. I'm the founder and CEO of Levi Marketing, a website design and development agency located here in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. Been around for about 12 years now, have over 40 designers and developers that are absolutely top notch, and we love creating websites for companies that are extremely effective in getting customers for their company. Now, in today's webinar, I really want to try to help equip you best I can because having done this for almost 12 years now, I've literally seen and heard just about every scenario you can think of as far as complications or issues or concerns that company owners or marketing directors have when going to create a new website for their company. I'm also going to help equip you in finding who is the best as far as a perfect fit for your company and the things to look for, not just on the surface, but really digging down deep and why it's so important, explaining the reasons of why that can help your company more than anything else, the things you probably might not even realize off the bat instinctively. Now, to start things off, one of the main things, or I should say two of the main things that I hear probably the most often, more than anything else, the concerns that I hear is that they have a set limited budget that they're wanting to allocate towards the new website for their company, and they're looking for somebody that they can really relate to and somebody that gets what they're doing, that really understands what they're doing. And both of these are extremely important. So how do you go about then looking for a company that can meet both of these things? Because really the website in itself is not like it used to be. It's something that companies have for years thought of as something where it's just like an online business card or a billboard of their company, and it's not anymore. It's just not, because a website actually serves as a sales tool now directly for your company, whether you sell products or services directly on your website or not. Because of the way websites are now in a relationship-based manner, trying to interact with the visitors and hopefully customers of your website that come to your website, that it then becomes, like I said, a sales tool that you need to make sure that it's properly designed and developed for having an effective website and generating new leads and customers for your company. Now, the two main things, like I said, was adhering to a budget that's, for the most part, primarily set within your company, either based off of a marketing budget that's pre-allocated, or it just might be like past experience, what you had like maybe on your previous website design years past, where you figure it's probably going to be around that same ballpark. The issue with this, however, is again, it's not something where it's a uh, like an online billboard or an online business card where it's a necessity in the sense where you got to have one and you don't really want to, but it's one of those necessary evils a lot of times I hear originally, and it's not. The dynamic has shifted, the mindset have shifted completely, and it needs to, with a lot of company owners and marketing directors that are looking to create a new website for their company. And it's for that reason of the website now being a sales tool that makes all the difference. It's something where you really have to look at your website, your new website, as a key investment into your company's future. It has become so essential that it's one of the main driving factors for getting customers now for a lot of different companies, even the ones that don't sell products or services directly on their website. It's because of this that I highly recommend that you look at the website as a key investment that's going to open up new doors and channels and avenues and generate a ton of new leads and hopefully customers for your new website or for your company through your new website. And I totally 100% understand when it comes to office supplies or phone providers or other company essentials within your company that going the most cost-effective route is essential. obviously, because one compared to the other, when it comes to those type of things, is really it's not much of a difference between those, where you're looking at envelopes or paper or phone providers. For the most part, they're all pretty much the same, and so simply going the most cost-effective route typically is the wisest choice. When it comes to your website, however, it makes all the difference in the world. It's not even so much the generating new leads and customers for your company, but it's also because it's the how people view your company when they come to your website is sort of the core of how your company is going to be perceived. So no longer are the days when it's just, like I said before, an online billboard or business card, because you have things such as it's your online representation of your company, your team, your products, your services, the testimonials from other people, and that's really the base, the core of your company online. And so when people come to your website, that's the online representation. So it's so extremely important to get it right, not only in the design, but also in development, which I'll talk about in just a bit here. But the design is so critically important to get that right, because when people first come to your website, a lot of times they have no clue who you are compared to somebody else, such as in the case of, like I said, when you're talking about office supplies or phone providers, or even whether it's insurance agents or whatever it might be. When they first come to your website, they may know a little bit about what you do, but a lot of times they don't know about your company specifically. And so they have to be able to get it right off the bat. Within 2 seconds, they have to clearly understand who you are, why they should buy from you, and trying to compel them to take action. And it's so critically important to get a lot of those key things right. There's literally a few hundred different things throughout your website for a successfully designed website. However, making sure that you find the right design and development company is critical, obviously, in order to achieve that. So it's not necessarily, a lot of times you may have a core idea in place saying, ultimately, we want to be able to achieve this in the new website that we have. We don't know necessarily how to do that. And so finding that right website company that can create that for you, again, is essential. So you have to look at it more as a key investment than a cost-effective route to go. And it's for that reason that it's just doing the due diligence is essential. I would love to say off the bat, hey, choose Levi Marketing because of X, Y, Z, and hopefully I'll prove that within a lot of this stuff. However, whether you choose my company or not, I'm genuinely trying to equip you because it is so much of feels like you're in foreign land almost, and in a foreign world, trying to understand, okay, we know we need a new website, and we know some of the core things that we want for our website. However, achieving those goals, we're not necessarily sure how to go. And so this webinar is going to hopefully equip you the best I can in that. Again, whether you choose my company or not, at least you'll have that core foundation to go off of. So again, looking at your website as a key investment is extremely important. Another thing that I was talking about too, the second largest thing that I hear a lot of times is you need to find a company that, or you feel obviously that you want to have somebody that you can easily convey things to. And a lot of times especially I know in company owners' minds, that they want a company that's local. And the reason for this is because in their mind, instinctively, because it's worked this way for however many years that they've been in business, where if they have somebody local, hey, if they need to have a face-to-face meeting, they can easily convey exactly what they're looking for, having that physical dialogue between the two people and clearly trying to draw something out or convey something instinctively feels so much easier because of that. The thing, though, to think about, again, it's a whole mindset shift here, is when you're dealing with website design and development companies, that no longer are the days in which geographical boundaries are binding you, from having a successful website. So there's things like Skype and FaceTime and Zoom like we use, and There's a lot of different things for interaction there. So a lot of times when you think, oh, well, here's a local developer that can, that has the ability to create what we want. And it's not necessarily they have the ability to create what you want, it's that they know how to create a website. But if they know how to create an effective website and design it correctly, and especially develop it correctly, which I'll talk about in a bit here, uh, is night and day difference. And the issue though is that you don't instinctively know until I'm about to teach you. You won't know the difference between who's just because they're a local developer does not mean they're a good developer and somebody who can create exactly what you're looking for. So local does not equal better at all. In fact, having done this for 12 years, I have noticed time and time and time again, and I'm going to go through a few examples here, that local doesn't equal better at all in a lot of situations, because a lot of times if they're a local based developer, they're a one-man shop, or one-person shop, I should say, men and women, that's all they do a lot of times, but all they know how to do is the thing of just to create the website. So it's not that they're necessarily good at it, but they have the ability to create a website. They know coding languages, they can move things around, they can put some images up, they may even know how to do some e-commerce stuff, maybe with WordPress. But in all, they don't necessarily have those key skill sets in order to create exactly what you're looking for that's going to get you the results that you're wanting. And that's where I should say the rubber meets the road, where it's no good for us to create, or for anybody to create a website for you that doesn't get you results. And so having a local based developer, 9 times out of 10, I just know this industry extremely well, does not have those skill sets in order to create an effective website for you. And effective meaning they're able to design and develop it in such a way where not only the design is geared towards conversions, getting visitors turned into customers for you, people that are purchasing or taking action on your website, which is so extremely critical. Because why invest into a website if it's not going to get you results? So just because somebody's local and you feel like you can convey your message to them a lot easier does not mean they're going to be able to translate that, or even obviously have the skill sets in order to be able to create an effective website for you that's going to get you the ROI that you're looking for, going to get you the results that you're wanting, and you're going to be happy with long term. And so that's extremely critical in realizing that local does not equal better. As long as they're in the United States, I'm not saying hire somebody in India because that's the opposite effect too. As long as they're in the United States, a lot of times an agency or somebody that's at least been around a long time, you can check their testimonials online. You can check, past examples of websites they've recently created. Asking for references. Do all those things. The vetting process is so critically important to do that by not doing it, you're sort of setting yourself up for failure. And so you may think, oh, well, they sent us this wonderful proposal that looks so, bright and colorful, and well, clearly they must know what they're doing. Don't think that just because something seems flashy or they might impress you in one or two areas, that they're going to have those skill sets to be able to create exactly what you're looking for an effective website. And it's just so critically important to do the due diligence and research to finding who is that perfect fit for your company specifically. So those are the two core things that I really wanted to stretch. Again, it's having somebody that can design something for you that you can make that key investment in, and local does not equal better. That making sure that they're a company that's been around a long time, knows what they're doing, knows and is extremely good at it, and can show you with results, show you with past examples, references, whatever it may be, that proves to you that clearly they're going to be the right fit for you. Now, taking it one step further is because they've been around for a long time, if you find the company like us, if you find a company that's been around for many years and yet the core of what they do is websites, then you can start to see that obviously they've created a process in place, and don't be afraid to ask them, what's your process? And if they start acting all almost dumbfounded, like, well, we just create the website for you, or, blah, blah. If they don't have a clear, crystal answer for you, direct, that clearly explains the process from start to finish, do not hire them. I am just saying don't hire them, because my suggestion is don't hire them, because clearly it's going to be a process of a nightmare for you if they haven't built a process in place like us, like a very well-established web design and development agency that knows, like I've worked so hard on our process that I have broken it down from from start to finish, and that's one of our secrets to success in having a building that process of creating a great website for you is through that process. So again, going back to the key investment, it's not something where, hey, we're just, this is what we need, who's the cheapest, and putting out an RFP out there and saying, well, this company can do it for 5,000. Why should we hire somebody that, is asking 50,000 or something for it, and so some of those things are what you should be looking for is, okay, what is your process? Because if they're not taking the time to do the due diligence with your company and trying to figure out who you are and what you're looking for and have that process in place, it's obviously going to be a nightmare for you. A lot of times, and this is just one of the, I should say, a secret, not necessarily a secret, but 95% of the industry, if not more, I should say, here's what's going to happen. A lot of times you're going to find you're going to put out an RFP out there for a new website for your company, and you're going to get a ton of bids between the $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 range, and then you're start to get some more bids, probably depending on who you're asking to get bids from. Maybe about 10, if they know somewhat they're doing, between maybe 10 to 15,000. And you might get some, depending on what you're looking for and what your website requires. You might start getting some for 25,000 or higher, I should say. And so there's different levels, and I'm going to teach you what the different levels are, so you have a clear understanding of what's going on. The $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Here's what's happening 99% of the time, no matter what they tell you, is they're taking pre-built templates and websites and plugins and programs, and what they're doing is they're trying to piece it all together. So in essence, all you're doing is paying for their time, which is probably the worst thing you could ever do. And I'm going to tell you why. So when say you've been tasked with writing a book, let's just for example, and you want to create a new book for your company or something or whatever it might be, and so you go and you try to find like 10 different books about what you want to talk about, and you're simply taking, literally copy paste each of these books almost and putting it all into one book. Well, clearly it's not going to flow well. When somebody's reading this, especially where one book ends and the next one starts, it's going to read like the weirdest thing in the world, because everything's just all pieced together. Same type of thing if you're building a house. If you say, oh, I like this kitchen, or I like this bathroom, or I like this living room, and you're literally piecing things together without it actually having blueprints in place, you're going to have a nightmare of a house. It's going to cave in within the first day, probably. You can't be taking pre-built things, not knowing how they're created, putting it all into one thing, trying to customize it, like paint the walls and put in furniture, to make it, how you like it, and think it's going to work out well for you. It never will. 100% of the time it will not. And so I would honestly throw those in the garbage. If you see ones that are like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, it's a local-based developer who is taking pre-built things that they found and trying to piece it all together and tweak it to make it look what you want. And the issue with this is the most important issue, the biggest red flag of this, is that you're going to have people coming to your website having a lot of problems, have a lot of issues. They can't fill out forms, they can't click on buttons, they can't get to the page they want, they can't contact you, they can't, there's so many different things going on. The page doesn't load correctly, the images don't look right, and it's because things were pieced together. So while the developer may be able to deliver to you a website that looks fine and you wouldn't know any difference because you're like, hey, well great, this is what we're looking for, And you wouldn't know, like I said, you wouldn't know any different. Within a few weeks to, a few months at the most, I'd say, you're going to start to have tons of issues and bugs and glitches on the site. And the worst part is you may not even catch any of these things. It's going to be the people coming to your website, experiencing these issues, and leaving your website, and you won't know about it. And that's the worst thing. So you're going to have like tons of people maybe coming to your website that are just like, it's not worth it. This website doesn't work, and you won't know about it. Or you might get lucky enough for one of them to have such a bad experience where they become so frustrated, where they contact you and say, did you know that your forms don't work, or these pages don't load, or I can't purchase this, or the things that you're wanting them to do. So think of all the lost business because you tried to go the cheap route. And so again, going back to having a key investment into viewing your website as a key investment into your company's future is essential. Now you might get some bids that come in, maybe 10 to 15,000 if it's just a basic website, and that's typically the base level. So if you're not wanting like an e-commerce site or a complex site or a database core site or anything, those are the ones that are typically custom designed and developed. And so that's where you want to start to look into those type of bids. If you see ones that are like 25,000 or higher, typically usually, and this is what I tend to find in both ways, is that the higher the budget are the ones I would pay the most closest attention to, because typically those people know what they're doing. So our developers, depending on what type of website we are creating for you, and what the requirements are and who we're using for them, which of our developers, I should say, designers and developers, are typically between 100 to 150 an hour, and they're extremely good at what they do. One of my core skill sets is finding the best of the best of the best in their specific area. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I can do design and development and these things and all, like 4 different types of websites, I won't hire them. I look for the people that are the best specifically at what they do, whether it's Magento or WordPress or Sitecore or whatever it might be. And that's all they do, and they're extremely good at it. So those are the people that I look for, and I beat them up pretty good. I make sure, beat them up in the sense of vetting them and making sure that they actually do consistently deliver extremely effective websites in the specific realm or area that the niche that they specialize in. And so I've built a team that's just that good. And so yes, they're expensive, but it's well worth it, because we're creating a website for you that is going to get you those results that you're looking for. And so when you see the bids that come in for higher amounts, that's the ones I would be taking a closer look at to say, okay, why are they charging what they're doing? And do they have the process in place? Have you done the due diligence again? That's extremely important and effective to know those things. So that may mean that you need to increase your budget for the website and look at it in a totally different way. Because say you're investing, let's say you would have to invest, or the bid comes in and it's $50,000, let's say. Or even, let's just go crazy and say it's going to be like $100,000 for a new website. So you're like, oh geez, $100,000 for a website, really? Okay, and what is that investment into your company's future going to get you? And how is that going to translate into dollars for you? Well, again, everything I've been saying, think of it this way. If people come to your website and they have a great experience on your website, and they want to, because of the way it's designed, developed, their strong call to actions, it's just designed really well. It's done very well. It's coded, like I'm going to talk about just here in a second, coded very well, that it compels them to want to take action, to contact you, to purchase, to subscribe to whatever it might be for your company, and to create a new account or whatever it happens to be. And so what's that going to do for you if you have 100 people, that come to your website and actually take action and do the things that you want? Is 100 going to make up easily for the 100,000 that you invest into the website within a year? Or let's say 200 people or 300 people or whatever it might be. So that's the type of thing I would look at. And so the second thing I want to talk about here is the development of the website. So design is one thing that's extremely critical in making sure that's designed properly and effectively. Development is so critically important though. It's almost as equally, if not a little bit more important than the design phase. And I'm going to tell you why. So when people are coming to your website, and again, it goes back to how the website's built. If you try to piece things together, like I talked about as the book or the house or whatever, and you're piecing things together that are pre-built, it's never going to work, ever. But when things are custom built correctly, you've developed the blueprints, you've had it custom designed, it's perfect, everything's all laid out literally, everybody's literally on the same page, and you have a developer who's been around a long time to build your house and to build it from scratch and has the right crew in place, and they build your house correctly, and it's been done from scratch. It's going to stay, it's going to be built for the long term. They have the right materials in place, they have the right skill sets, the right knowledge, and you've allowed them the correct timing to create the exact perfect house that you're looking for. And a website here is no different. When you have the blueprints in place, when you have the designs right in place, they have the right materials, and especially the right developers and crew in place, you're going to get the perfect website. And so this is what I mean by that. So this whole time you've been looking at having to stare at this form, which I want to talk about at the end. Let's right click on this real quick and we'll look on view page source, and you can do this from any website. Look at the coding of the website. So this looks probably Greek to all of you, like what is this as a foreign language? This is the actual coding of a website. And so developers don't see websites like you and I do, like us. This is just a normal form on a website with a picture and it looks nice, and but the core, the actual reality of a website is not this. This is what everybody sees. This is actually the core of a website though. This is the coding. This is the thing that actually websites are created from or built from. And you may instinctively, like, sort of heard this or know this a little bit, the realms of, but this is actually what makes or breaks a website. And so this is what, you're paying the developers to create the website for you, and making sure that it's done correctly is so extremely critically important. So how do you know if a website's being built correctly or not? Well, from a couple things. You'll know because obviously, like I said, the price that you're given, the quote that you're given for a website is one thing. But also, if it breaks on you within a few months, you know that it wasn't probably built correctly. So if they tell you that, they're building it from scratch, that's one good indicator, but that's not enough. What we do, which is extremely rare in this industry, what Levi Marketing does, my company, is what's known as 100% clean coded. So 95, 98% of the industry at least, if not more, I would even go so bold to say probably 99% of the industry, the more I learn, is they're doing what's known as quick and cheap. So most local developers, I'm not trying to badmouth, I'm literally just translating what, or not translating, but trying to transfer knowledge, I should say, to you. They're doing what's known as quick and cheap. You are paying for them to just slap something together. It's like they're slapping something on a wall and saying, here you go. And so they're not going to take the time to code it correctly, and that makes a world of difference because they just simply are, you'll say, here's what we need. You go walk in, you're like, here's what we need, and here's what we're looking for, and like I said, you won't know any different, and they're just gonna be like, okay, and we're gonna do, they're gonna do that, and they're gonna create that, and so they go to create it, and it might even look somewhat correct when they go to do it, but what you don't know is on the back end, it's coded horrible. It's sort of like somebody building you a cheap house, and you wouldn't know the difference necessarily because on, the outside of it or even the inside of it, it looks okay. But after, maybe a few months or something, you're noticing, hey, the floor is starting to cave in, or, the outlets aren't working, or, whatever. When things are built correctly, when you have the right materials, the right people with the right skill sets, and it's just done correctly, they have the knowledge to do it, then you don't have any issues. So when the house is built correctly, like, if we're building a house for you type of thing, very similarly, that when you take the time to build it correctly, and most importantly, you have the skill set to do it. Most people don't. Like we code 100% clean, it's going to last you a very long time. So the ROI is there. And the most important thing to remember, again, going back to that, is when people come to your website, the visitors are coming to your website, they're not going to have a bad experience. They're not going to be like, oh, I can't get to this page, I can't fill out this form, I can't purchase. They're not going to have that bad experience. So you are then creating the wealth that you're looking for, creating the ROI that you're looking for, the sales that you're looking to generate, and most importantly, the good experiences that you want them to have. Not only on your website, but as a company in a whole, the brand recognition, everything. It's all inclusive. And so that's why websites are so extremely important, to not only have it designed correctly, but also developed perfectly, like 100% clean coded. And the issue here is, unfortunately, that you're going to go perhaps to a local developer or somebody and say, hey, do you code 100% clean code? And they may say yes, but they're lying to you. 99% of the time, they're going to be lying to you. Especially you will know if what they're quoting you based off of what they're quoting you. If they're saying 3, 4, 5, 6,000, I'm telling you, throw it in the trash. Don't even look at it. When they start quoting you 10,000 or more, typically, they could still be doing pre-built or whatever, but typically, if you're seeing quotes around that, at least 10,000 or more, depending on what you're looking for. But some sites that we work on wind up being a few 100,000 or even more than that. So it really depends on what the requirements are. So you could say, and that's another critical thing. Just sidetrack for a second. A lot of times people come to me and say, "Here's what we're looking for. How much is it?" Well, they don't really clearly describe exactly what they're looking for. It's sort of like you're saying, if you come to me and say, how much is a house? Well, what are you looking for in the house? Are you looking for how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how big do you want it? Do you want it brand new? Do you want what type of fixtures? Do you want everything? What are you looking for? And so we need to know on a very granular level exactly what you're looking for. And the scariest things for you to be looking for is how quickly people are quoting you. And so if somebody, if you send out an RFP and you're saying, well, here's our mission, we see all types of RFPs. If you're saying, here's our mission statement, here's what we're trying to create, which is great. That's, so that helps us in understanding, especially in the design process, that is really good to have. But if you don't know on a very detailed level of what you're looking for, then it's okay not to know off the bat. I will say that. But here's where the issue will come in. If you have web designers, developers, whatever, that starts quoting you, if you say, how much is it? Why can't you give me a quote? Well, some of them might be able to give you an estimate based off of their understanding of what they have so far. But I would be really concerned if they're not asking you more questions. So for us, for example, we'll get an RFP and we'll say, okay, well, great. That starts the process of getting a high-level overview of exactly what you're looking for. But that's not really, that's why we have the free website strategy session for those that qualify for us. Would be a good fit for being a client of ours, and us for you, obviously, as well. So and it just works. It either works or it doesn't. And so that's something to have in mind, though, to really understand, is that if they're not being inquisitive on who you are, and you don't get that sense of they genuinely care about your company and what you're trying to achieve, and really, most importantly, get a clear understanding of what you're trying to create, throw it in the trash. Don't even look at it. Because if they're not taking the time to do it, and you're just thinking, well, let's slap something together, why can't you give us a quote, or, let's give us a quote or whatever, and let's just work at it from there. We can do that. It's possible, but then you're not going to be getting a quote. You're going to be getting charged hourly. So, and that could be going on until the end of time, because websites are living, breathing things, if you will, sort of, that never ends. You know, a website is never an ending process. It's always going to develop and evolve and grow, and, you know, changes your company changes, which again goes back to why it's so critically important to have a website that's coded correctly, that's developed correctly on the back end here, so that, you know, not only does it last 3, 4, 5, 6 years, or however many years until you're ready for that next level, but, you know, when you want to add on to it, when you want, it's like, you know, when you build a house, when you want to add that third or fourth level or sunroom or whatever you want to add on to it, you can, because it was built correctly to begin with. They took the time to build it correctly so that you can, when you're ready for that next level, you can do it. You know, so that's why it's so critically important, like I said, even if not more important than the design phase, to have the website coded correctly and what's known as 100% clean coded. And so that's extremely important. So hopefully that helps of an understanding of what to look for in a web design development agency company that's been around a long time, and sort of helps you understand that, you know, what things to look for, so you know that you're getting exactly what you want long term. And I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples here. I want to respect your time. I highly appreciate you taking the time to listen to me thus far. I won't take much more of your time, I promise. And I do this because I love this. You know, this is a core passion of mine. I really want to. I see this happen over and over again, which prompted me to create this webinar, to try to genuinely help you, whether you choose me or not. I genuinely care for a lot of these companies and really want to help you as best I can, especially also being a business owner, company owner. I get it. You know, you want to make sure that you're investing anything, whether it's a website or anything for your company, that you're getting the ROI that you're looking for, that you have the right things in place so that you can have created what you have dreamt, you know, what you have envisioned. And so that's extremely important. And there's so much of not knowing when it comes to selecting the right web design development company to create your website, that I really I felt prompted to create this webinar and teach you as best I can here. So the other day, literally, I think, 3 days ago, we just created another new website. Very nice website, and, you know, it took us, how long did it take? About 8 months or so, I think we planned for, and just finished with it. And here's what happened, and this happens a lot. And so this is what I want to relate. You're not alone. This happens all the time, and I totally get it. I understand. So here's what happened. Or I'd say maybe 12 months ago. The company originally came to us and they sent out an RFP to a bunch of people, and after their, you know, vetting due diligence process, it came down to us and a local developer, one-man shop local developer. And what happened was that, you know, the owner was saying, well, geez, this, you know, Levi Marketing really can seem to create everything we want. But, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years now. He's, you know, in his company, and he's like, well, I'm so used to having local people that I'm going to stick with local. You know, I understand that this other company, Levi Marketing, might be so much better in X, Y, and Z areas and blah, 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 but, you know, I feel better having somebody local, you know, that I can go to if I need to walk in and have a face-to-face meeting, or they can come to our office rather, and, you know, it just makes me feel better that I have that reassurance that that can happen. Here's what happens every single time. They wound up hiring the local developer, and within, you know, I'd say, what it was, it was maybe 5 weeks, I'd say, almost 5 weeks after from the last time we had communicated with them, and they had said they were going with the local developer. They came back to, he personally called me and apologized to me and said, look, I apologize to you. We went with this local developer. It was a complete nightmare. He clearly didn't understand what we wanted or what we were looking for. And then when he's finally, after he told us, you know, it was going to take him 2 weeks at most, and when he finally, you know, 3 weeks after that, when he finally, it was like that day, I think it was the day before or that day, when the developer finally delivered what, you know, the website that they were looking for, and was significantly cheaper than our quote came in. And it wasn't even close to what they were looking for, and it was just a nightmare. And he was extremely frustrated, to say the least. And so he was apologizing to me. He was telling me all this. He's like, you know, I should have gone with you, and I apologize. Is there any way we can, you know, commence back to where we, you know, where we left off? And I said, yeah, I'm glad to help, definitely. You know, this is, there's zero, you know, I get where you're coming from. I understand this. I hear this a lot, and yeah, I'd love to help you. And so, you know, the timing, you know, our quote came in, like I said, our quote was probably, I think, 10 times higher, and, you know, 10 times more as far as the timeline. But it's because it's totally different. There's two totally different dynamics. One is a local developer who simply took pre-built things, slapped it all together, tried to tweak it, throw some on the wall, and say, here you go, and was 3 weeks late of what his promised due date was. And, you know, it happens a lot. And so versus us, who has all these different processes and things in place, where we say, okay, well, here's the design phase, and here's the preliminary phase, and the blueprints phase, and, you know, then the development phase, and on and on. And so, you know, we take the time to do what's necessary to create a website. Well, granted, his website was a little bit more in depth, which is why I think it took us, you know, however long it was, 9, 10 months, or no, 8 months, I think. I'll have to look at it, but, you know, that's why it took longer than what the other developer was. But my point being is that, you know, just, it happens all the time. You're not alone. And so it instinctively, and they loved it. You know, the website turned out perfect. They were extremely happy with it, and the process couldn't have got better, or been better. And you know, they're very happy with it because they understood. They had the clear understanding afterwards of why things take the time they do, and, like, you know, the process, and they knew what to expect each step along the way. So we're never going to leave you hanging. And, you know, that's the other thing, is that uh, you feel as if originally, I get it, where you're like, hey, I want somebody local because you know, they can come in here. The guy wouldn't even show up, and this happens all the time. This developer or whatever wouldn't call him back, wouldn't, you know, respond to him. Finally, after 3 weeks of this company having to, you know, our client having to call this guy and harass him, or almost to the point of harassing him, saying, you know, call us back, email us back, something. He wasn't responding at all. He finally said, oh yeah, here you go. And here's a website. I think he just chucked it together. He sent it to us, and it's nothing we could use. You know, it was something, you know, the owner came to us and said, is this something you can use? And we looked at it and was like, no, there's no way, because it was how it was built, and it was just things that were just slapped together, and it wasn't even designed correctly. And so then they're trying to get their money back, and obviously the guy didn't want to respond at all at that point. I don't think he ever did. And so they were out, what, almost 2 months or whatever, and however many thousands of dollars, and they didn't get the website that they wanted. So it was extremely frustrating for them. And he was at the point where he's like, let's go with Levi Marketing. And he's so glad he did, you know, because we do things correctly. And it's very unfortunate that that happens almost 100% of the time. I, no exaggeration, probably get at least 10 a year, if not a lot more, clients just like that. They're very, and I don't blame them. I'm sort of the same way, in the sense of, like, you know, you're so used to having the local, whatever provider closest to you, that you think, oh, they're the best. A lot of times, I'd say 99% of the time, they're just not. And especially when it comes to websites, because it's, as long, like I said, as long as they're in the United States and you've done your due diligence process, there really is no bounds. We had, you know, some online, what do you call it, the video screen sharing sessions, things like that, video sessions, where they clearly were able to feel as if, you know, and we understood it clearly before, but then also during our meetings, they got the feeling as well that we have a clear understanding of exactly what they're looking for, and it just continuously gave them the reassurance that we're going to create exactly what they're looking for, what they have envisioned. And that was obviously, for them or any client, that's extremely important. And so we do that in our part of our process that we've built and created. And so again, it's just something that when you're investing into a website and you're trying to select the best website company, agency to create your website, you really have to look at those things. And so I hope this helps. So I've said here in the past 45 minutes has helped you be better equipped to know who to choose and why it's so important. The other thing to remember too is that when you're looking to be top ranked on SEO, things like that, there's lots of things you can do, but the way the website is coded is also extremely important, to the point where I'd say it's at least 85% now, I think it is, somewhere around there, 85% of SEO. Unless it's an extremely competitive industry, it's about how your website's built, and that's a secret I really don't tell too many people. Until they become clients of mine, I tell them about a ton of different things, but that's one of them. So I gave you a little secret I don't tell too many people there, but it's it's extremely important. There's ways, the ways we do it, I should say. The local based developer won't obviously know how to do these things, but because of the way we know how to instinctively create the websites, build the websites on the back end, the coding, like I said, the coding of these websites, that they naturally come up on Google for SEO purposes. We just know like exactly what to do in order to get them top ranked. So there's other things that obviously come into place, but I would say the majority, the core of what Google is looking for is because of the way it's built, which we know how to do. So that's another bonus there. But I hope this has helped. If you have any questions, please feel to reach out to us. And I really want to stress that if you are in the market right now for, clearly, obviously, if you've watched this webinar and gotten to this point, you are in the market, obviously, probably for a new website. And if you want to take it that next step and that next level, then I would encourage you to go to our website here and click on the link. You can see free website strategy session here, and fill out this form. And if you qualify, you'll fill out a few different things here. And it's when I say qualify, I simply mean that there's clients that we're either going to be a good fit for you or we're not. And I have a heart to help a lot of people. That's just, I hope maybe you can sense the passion for what I do, to genuinely try to help people the best I can, whether they choose us or not. But we're really good at what we do. We've won multiple awards. We got like best of the best a couple years now, 16, 17, and so it just shows because of our passion that we're really good at what we do. So would love to help you out. Take the time to fill out this form. We'll take you 10 seconds or whatever to fill out this form. And yeah, we'll go from there. You'll talk directly with me most likely, and a couple people on my team. We'll schedule this free website strategy session and go from there. And if nothing else, you'll have, just from this website strategy session, you'll have a clear idea, even more so, on the direction to go for your company. So if you qualify and we wind up scheduling we schedule a session for you, I personally, and probably one or two of my people on my team, will craft a sort of a preliminary blueprints, if you will, at least a high-level overview of guiding you to the best direction, more of a technological standpoint of how to create your website, like what essential things it needs to have. And there's no risk in that. There's no obligation to move forward with us or anything, but at least we'll give you a better understanding of what you're trying to look for. It's just another way of us trying to help you any way we can. So Would love to create the perfect website for you. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to us. But if you're ready for the next step, go on here, fill out the form. It'll take you, what, 10, 20 seconds or whatever, maybe 30 seconds. But then yeah, we'll get started on things and would love to help you out any way we can. Thank you so much, and everybody have a wonderful day.